Welcome everyone. It is January the 3rd, Saturday morning. Happy New Year to everyone. Hope everyone had good holidays. Those of you who celebrate them, or whether you don't celebrate them, whatever you whatever you hang on to, I wish you all the very best, good health, and a great new year coming up for 2015. I'm putting this video up because the last video I did, I think somewhere along the line I mentioned the possibility of a new surgery I might have to face coming up on my back. And well, true to form, I've just gotten out of the hospital, had a major fusion. They extended the fusion up the next layer, so they had to take out hardware, put in new hardware. Making a long story short, it was a fairly extensive surgery, and I'm going to be down for a while and not being able to do an awful lot. So aside from that, the fact that it's also January, and I tend to shut down during these cold winter months. I just turned a big 70 back in September, and it gets pretty tough to get out there in that real cold weather. So this kind of good year to do it, get it out of the way, and then come spring, hopefully I'll be good enough to pick up where I was and do some more imaging. In the meantime, I thought I might go back. Very, very early on, I did a video and I showed how I built my camera. You can buy from several companies planetary cameras, which will do basically what we're doing here. Orion makes one, Celestron makes one, I believe Meade does. I know there's several of them, but still a very simple way to get around it is just to go out and get a good quality webcam and make your own. I settled on the Logitech C910 webcam and built my old camera and camera holder. Now the camera holder is really, this part right here is actually, let's see if we can zoom in a little better on this. This was my first camera, and I used Logitech C525, and did some experimenting, tried some different things. Some worked well, others didn't. As you can see, it's been tore apart since then, and the camera that was in it is actually the camera that's taking this video now. As my finished camera sits back here in the background, and we'll talk about that a little more here in a bit. This one here is just a little bit easier to show you how I went ahead and built these cameras. If you are good at metalworking, if you have a small machine shop, or you know somebody that does, or you have access to machining, you could have something made up like this very cheaply out of aluminum, and have a very nice finished product. I'm not very mechanically inclined, and I just went around and found a household plastic jar with a screw-off lid. You can see here the lid screws right back on. It's just yeah, that's it. That just screws on. It's all it was a household jar. The idea behind it is the camera gets mounted here, and it looks through this hole that has been cut in the bottom of the can, or the little plastic jar. Now, the insides is the guts, and this is what makes the camera work. What I did is I took a ruler and cut 4 lengths of ruler equal to the length of the jar, length here. I then glued felt, just took some regular green felt material, cut it to size, and glued it to the pieces of wood. Now what that does is it brings the size of the opening down so it comes very close, as you'll see here, very close to the fitting of the eyepiece. You know, the eyepiece fits right in there with very little room to move around. Okay, now the idea behind that is so you can tighten the eyepiece in position to take your images. And you can see that I have, on this camera, I have 4 screws over here. On my finished camera back here, there are only 3. I settled on 3. I think 3 works much better. I think in the very first video, when I talked about building this camera, I talked about using a pin loaded with a spring. Well, that idea didn't pan out very well, so I went back to the just the screws idea, and I used 3 of them instead of 4. Now, to get this to work, I mean, we're using a plastic jar, basically, and what makes this screw setup here work is the fact that I've got these 4 wood, and this one 4, it's 3 in this one, wooden pieces of ruler with the felt, and then I drilled, I believe it was a 1/4-20 hole to match the 1/4-20 screw, which as you can see it here sticking up here. You can see all the way around. They're painted black, so they're probably a little bit difficult to see. Let's see if we zoom in a little better on that. Let's see. Let's see. Yeah, there. Okay, you can see them just a little bit better. You can see right there. Now, I held these nuts. I went out and bought the 1/4-20 nuts and the screw. And what I did is I drilled the hole out big enough so that the screw would just start to go into the hole, but wouldn't go all the way through. And then I used, what is that name? Forget the name of it. Man. I'm going completely blank here. It's a nail called, it's a cream, and it makes like a nail, they call it a nail holder. Anyway, the strength of the material, and I'm going crazy here because it's trying to run through my head and I just can't recall off the top of my head what the product is. But anyway, the nail is in the product. I could look it up here in 2 seconds if I took a walk away from the computer, but I really don't want to walk away from the screen. So, but anyway, it's just a good glue. Any good quality glue. This takes about 24 hours to harden good. And what I did is I pushed the nuts in place, and they almost held in place in the hole. And then I built up a layer of the glue all the way around. Allowed 24 hours, went back, gave it a second coat, allowed 24 more hours, and put a 3rd coat on it. So that is one drawback. It takes 3 days to get that. But when you get done, the nuts then act as threads, and you have got a, as you can see here, it turns, and the nuts control the length of the amount of the thread sticking inside. Now, also, I just want to check something. I want to see if I'm in auto, because it seems, yeah, it's in auto mode. I don't know why it looks a little bright. It looks like it might be a little overpowered. Maybe not. Maybe in the video on screen it might look better. But then notice in here, I just took some of those pads that they make for furniture, and I used the very, very tiny ones. They have to stick them back where you peel it off, and they'll stick onto almost anything. Well, I put that on the back of the screws, and what that does is when this goes in and bites down on the eyepiece to hold the eyepiece in place, You don't char up your eyepieces. You don't mark them all up and ding them and all that. Just kind of protects them. Now, the thing about these cameras is something that I found out on my own. I'm sure some of you have probably run into it, know whether you've solved the problem yourself or haven't. I have a few pointers for you. You would think, now as I say, the camera sits right here, right on top here, and looks through this opening. Now notice these black strips here? That's Velcro. That's how I hold the camera in place over the hole. I have Velcro strips here, and I have little bits of Velcro that go on the camera, and I put an eyepiece in here and get it perfectly centered up, and then take the camera and bring it down and get the lens of the camera dead center over the center of the eyepiece, and I'll show you the eyepieces I use in the center of those in a second. And when I get what I want and as close as I can, you bring it down into contact with the Velcro, and it locks itself in place. I then, on this camera here, I just built this back. It's just another plastic jar with some rubber in here. And that just kind of helps hold the camera in place. That just went down over top and pushes down on the camera. And it just kind of held the camera in place in my first one. I did it a little bit different on my new one, and I'll show you that when we get to that. But okay, now we've got the camera in there. We think we're all set. We've got our screws. Let's get an eyepiece out and let's look at something. You would think that you put this down over the eyepiece, and the eyepiece would come right to the end right here. As you can see the eyepiece in there, see it moving, and see it, you bring it right up to here, so it's touching the shelf that the camera sits on. And you would think that you would bring the camera right down to the shelf, so the lens is sitting right just about touching the lens of the eyepiece. Well, it doesn't quite work that way. You would think that's the best focus. And I've made a little sketch here, if it shows up, to show you what I mean. Let's see. Is this going to show up, or is it going to be washed out? It's probably going to be washed out. Let me see if I can get this. And we'll drop this down a little bit. Let me see if I can take that off of auto. Let's darken this up. There we go. There we go. Okay, it's not the best, but here's a quick drawing of an eyepiece. And what I'm showing you here is the outline of the eyepiece. This is what goes into the telescope. Here's where all the elements of glass are. The eyepieces I use 6 elements of glass. Well, the rays of light come up here, and then they come out of the eyepiece right here, and you think that, well, they'd go right into the camera fine, and everything is hunky-dory, and you're off and running, and you're in focus. Well, that's not true. What it turns out to be, I just dropped my pointer. Let me grab that. And that feels good on the old back. And what I'm showing here is the light cone actually comes out of the camera, and it comes to focus actually a little bit outside. They call it eye relief. And what you really need to do is to get your camera not down here or right over top of the hole, but you need to get your camera so the focus and lens system and focus meets right here at the focus of the eyepiece. So you need to be able to move your camera around and up and down to achieve good focus. With the camera all the way down on top of the eyepiece, you'll get a tiny little pinhole. You'll see a nice sharp image of the moon, but you end up with just a pinhole effect. when you move the camera back and forth slightly, you'll all of a sudden you'll hit that sharp point, and everything comes together. The screen fills with a full image of the moon. One other tip is to set your camera controls to auto, because right now all you're trying to do is to get an image of the moon. And at auto, it'll show a bright image of the moon, whether it's focused or not, or whether it's too bright or too dim. It doesn't matter. It's going to give you enough light to show you that you've got an image of the moon in the camera. Then, here, we're going to move over now. We're going to go to my finished camera, and I'm going to show you how this works. Let's see. I've got my diagonal here. This is the 2-inch diagonal that I use. Let me let's see. Let's change this to auto. I'm gonna make a couple adjustments here. I need to back out a little bit. That looks awful dark. Boy, that looks dark. Whoa! Why is that so dark? Let's try taking off the advanced settings. That's not working. Why not? This is giving me all kinds of trouble here all of a sudden. I don't want that. I want controls, advanced settings. Autofocus. For some reason, this is not doing what I'm asking it to do. Let's take the autofocus off. Let's go to advanced settings again. For some reason, it's not allowing me into the advanced settings. And I have got an awful dark image here, which I am not happy with. Let's see, web options there. Advanced settings. Obviously, I'm like done. It's not allowing me into my controls here. That is strange. I have not ever had this happen before. Let's see if I can figure this out. Okay, autofocus is off. Autofocus is now on. And I'm still way out of focus. I don't... Okay, then we got that. I don't want that so much as... Let's get this focus back. Okay, we got the focus. Now what I don't understand is why... here we go. Now we're back where we want to be. That was ridiculous. Let's get this brightness back up. There we go. Now, what I'm trying to show you is this is the diagonal. And normally I don't usually use a diagonal. I go straight through and put my eyepiece straight through the telescope like this and attach my camera to that. But for purposes of showing you what's going on here, I'm going to use the diagonal just to make it work a little better. Okay, so the eyepiece goes in, and that's not the way we want to do it. Okay, we have got this goes in here. Okay, there we go. It's been a long time since I've had a lot of this equipment out, and I'm getting lost. Okay, so we've got the diagonal in there. This goes into the telescope, this end right here, and our eyepiece goes in here. And I'm going to have to tighten these up a little bit, loosen this one. And there we go. Okay, now what we do is what I do normally is I adjust my settings on my camera, these little screws, and I adjust them so they'll go in and they'll grab the camera, but it'll be loose. It'll actually allow me, so I'll loosen these up a little bit more. And what it does, it allows me to move the camera around. Okay, like this. See, I can pull it up, I can push it down, I can bend it back and forth, whatever I have to do. And when I hit a sharp moment, and these are a little too loose right now, so let me just tighten these up just a little bit. And when I hit that sharp point, these screws generally are set just tight enough so the camera, when I let go, will not move. And I'll be very, very close to perfect focus. Then I will just put a couple of more turns of tightness on the screws to tighten the camera down. Once you've done that, you're still going to be slightly off focus, but yet you've tightened up these screws enough now where you can still move the camera. Okay, I can take it, and if I want, I can move it up just a little bit. That's a little too tight. I can bring it up just a little bit. I can drop it down just a little bit. And when I get done, it'll stay in place and everything will be focused. And that is the way my camera system works. I'll try to show you this one completed. Yeah, down inside here. Here you can see the Logitech C910 camera down inside here. Here's the shelf you can see that the camera sits on. And then don't forget, back here there's two strips of Velcro with little tiny tabs of Velcro on the camera. And that holds the camera in place right over the eyepiece. I then built this back. I took another piece of plastic and formed it back, and I used liquid nails. It just hit me, boy. I knew that was going to drive me nuts till it hit me. Liquid nails is the substance I use to put these screws on around the camera. But then I also used the liquid nails around the plastic case here to encase the camera. When that hardened, I then put a top on it and ran the wire out the back. And that completed my unit. Now, all the images of the moon that you have seen, 95% of them were taken with this camera. The very first couple were taken with the first camera, which was just a test bed, and this is the final version. As you can see, I cut the screws from 4 to 3. It makes it much easier to adjust the camera back and forth around until you hit the spot for focus, and then you just use the screws and tighten them. And you don't tighten them real hard. Tighten them just enough so when you let go, the camera will stay put. It'll stay where you leave it. Then you go about your business. You can get to the computer. You set the settings the way you want. You can use the zoom feature as we do here. I will show you if I can. Let's see. Why is this doing this to me? I'm trying to advance setting. I don't want to do that. Should be controls done. Yeah. And then you get into your controls, and here's the zoom, as you can see. And of course, if we were looking at the moon, we would be zooming in very nicely on a crater or some such object. you can see there's a lot of zoom with these cameras. There's a lot of zoom. You can zoom way in and out. There's only one problem. You get out too far. When you get out like in here, when you're on the moon, you'll start to get a vignetting, and it'll show up, you know, around the outside here of the screen. It'll start to show up. So you want to get zoomed in enough so you alleviate that problem, and your camera will cover the entire moon. Now, the one thing I really wanted to mention also was I used a number of eyepieces. I started out using Orion eyepieces. They have some wide-angle eyepieces, but they're quite pricey. They were, you know, in the $140 range. And I ran across a set of eyepieces by Mead. They're called Mead ED 60-degree eyepieces. This is one right here. The great thing about these is the eye lens, or the field lens, and that's this big, let me get this turned so you can see it well. That's this big hunk of glass right here. See how large that is? It makes it very easy to get the camera right over the eyepiece. Now, I meant to have on hand, and I forgot to do it, so I don't have it. But a regular Plossl eyepiece, say a 7mm or a 12mm eyepiece, and the holes in those are very, very tiny. They're probably half the size of a dime, if that, and it makes it very, very difficult to get lined up and to get an image. You can do it; it will work. But just to let you know, this brand of eyepieces, these Meads, there are others out there that are very similar to these. They're 6 elements. They have, in other words, they have 6 elements of glass lenses through this whole system, and some of them are made of ED, or the extra dispersion glass, which gives you very, very nice sharp images. And these eyepieces are in the vicinity of, I believe $79.95, $80, roughly $80, and they're just a fantastic set of eyepieces. And if we back out a little bit, I think, I don't know if you can see them all, but I have the whoops, just hit the mic. That's going to sound good. As you can see, if you can see them, it's kind of dark here. Let me see if I can brighten that up a little bit. Let's go to, there we go. Hey, you can see the whole set. I start back here. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of them, and they come in. I have a 4.5mm, which is the highest power. And then I have the 6.5, which is my hand, which is the next highest power. The 9mm back here, which is kind of and 12, both those are kind of intermediate range power. And then I have the one we were using here in the diagonal, which is 18mm, and we're starting to get into the wide angle eyepieces now. Nice catch. Still got the old shortstop reflexes. That's the 18mm, and then the final eyepiece in the set is the 25mm. This 25mm will easily give you the entire disk of the moon. So if you want to get out there, say on a full moon night, or just want to get a shot of the entire moon, this 25mm eyepiece will probably do that. And all these other eyepieces that then fill all the other gaps. You can go from medium to high and close up. And also, all these eyepieces work very well with Barlow lenses. I have a couple experiments I'd like to try, hopefully this summer, with a Barlow lens, and try to pick up. It's something I've been trying to do for almost 2 years now, and have yet to do it. And that is on live video, to pick up some of the crater pits that are in the floor of the crater plateau. And I have yet to accomplish that. I probably can do it imaging with another imaging camera I built, which is not made for live displays like I do with this series, and it gives you sharper images. In fact, let me see if I can, I'm not sure, let me see what's going to happen if I try this. This image, if I can get it here, there, that image of the moon, and it's probably washed out pretty bad. Let's see if we can drop it down a little bit. That area is the area of Archimedes. You have the Alpine mountain range over there to the left. The Apollo 15 landing site is right up against those mountains. That image is of extreme quality. The Hadley's Rill, right near where Apollo 15 landed, is visible, very visible and clearly on the original print when you look at it closely. Very high resolution work can be done. When you work with these eyepieces and the camera holder and shoot what we call afocally through the eyepieces, you're not going to get quite the quality as if you were taking the lenses out and using the camera as it was without the eyepieces. You get much sharper images, and so I can always do that, but I still want to attempt that with the eyepieces and do that Plato project. I don't know if you can see in the background back up here. Let's see if you can see. It's awful dark. The light in here is not very good right now. But in the background there are some images from backup board from something. I had a book signing, and I set this up. Those are all CCD images that I took. That was my main goal before my back has become a real issue, and it's kind of put an end to my astronomy career. I have that camera right over here. I can show it to you real quickly. Let's see. My son has a place about 1/4 of a mile from us, and I do have a pole set up there, and in the summer months I can permanently leave my equatorial head from my telescope set up on it and just keep it covered up with a plastic cover, and I can still do some CCD imaging, so I can still have a little bit of fun. Okay, let's see how bright we are. Might need to increase the brightness a little bit. But this is the CCD camera. This is the one that takes the deep sky images. To take good quality deep sky images, you need to take exposures in the range of several hours. This part right here is the actual camera. The chip is mounted somewhere in front here. This big part here, this round section here, is a filter wheel that holds all the filters that we need for taking, and of course the nose piece here for going into the telescope. Now the way this camera works, it's a black and white camera, but yet we take color pictures. How do you do that? Well, you do that by using this filter wheel in here. It has red, green, and blue filters, and if that sounds familiar to you, that's the RGB series, which color comes from. The old color films were RGB based. They had grains which were sensitive to green, grain sensitive to red, grain sensitive to blue, And when you combine the image together after it was processed, you ended up with a color image. Well, this is basically the same system here. There are now systems where we take what is called a luminous, which is just a black and white image, and you take a very long, deep image, and it will use as a good background to add the colored images onto. Any processing you do that to the luminous image, and then you add the color to it, and you get a nice color image. So I still hang on to that. I still trying to keep my fingers in that a little bit, but Father Time and my back is really starting to catch up with me, so I'm starting to just slow down. And mentioning that, I will mention, and I last year I started thinking, well, I've been around for a long time. I was going to put some notes together, and basically it was just going to be for my family, and about all the things that I've done from astronomy when I started when I was about 12 years old. And I wrote it up, and I actually had a friend of mine who has his master's degree in writing, and he started giving me some points and tips and really helped me out, and I kept writing and writing, and I ended up with this book-sized manuscript. Well, I took it down to Staples and was going to have just a bunch run off with some photographs and just to hand out to my family members, and just all the time and all the projects. I have some published works working with some professional astronomers that are published in journals and magazines and such, and I just wanted something to leave behind for my family members to show. I just didn't want to feel that all that work I had done all my life had gone to waste. At least I had left it in written form behind. Well, it turned out that I ran into this publishing company that was running a very, very good special, and it turned out cheaper to have them publish the book than to go down and have, per copy that is, than to have Staples run off something that looked like a high school term paper. So it was a no-brainer. So I went ahead and I actually have a book published. The very first half of it is me growing up and going through all my stages of life, being introduced to astronomy by a good friend, and getting into it. But most of the first part of the book deals about my younger days, my going through high school and being scared to death because I just was not a good student, knew I would never get doctorate degrees to become an astronomer, and I wanted to do research. And so after I got out of the Navy and got married, married to a very nice, very good woman, and we've been together for 46, going on 47 years now, and she backed me all the way. The cover of the book is me with my 16-inch telescope in the observatory that I used to have in my backyard. So anyway, I went ahead and published with this company. Have no intent in making any money. I have not sold a single book for any profit. Books that I sold at book sale and book signings here locally, I sold for what I paid for the book, and of course I've just given the book away to family members. But if any of you are interested in it, the title of the book is Waxing and Waning, a memoir of an amateur astronomer, and it's published by Ex Libris. There's an ISBN number on it. The ISBN number, it's ISBN 978-1-4990-3895-8, and then there's a little gap in below that is 51999. It's available at Amazon, Barnes & Noble, just like any other book. So if you're interested in reading about some hack of an amateur astronomer, here's your chance. I think it's pretty neat. I had a good time writing it. It brought back a lot of good memories. And like I said, the second half of the book deals mostly with my astronomical research, where I did serious astronomy with a number of groups. Well, I guess I babbled on enough today. I just wanted to put something up because I know I'm not going to be active for a while, this back situation. And here I'm looking at this time, wow, 40 minutes I've been running on with my mouth. That's just unbelievable. I do the same thing out there when I'm out with the moon. The time just flies by. So anyway, I thought I would just give you a little catch-up on my equipment, the camera, the eyepieces, and such. And again, I wish you all good, clear nights, good health. I know how important that is after what I've just been through, and I've been through it a number of times now, and it's not fun. It's going to lay me up for a while. But hopefully when the good weather comes back, I'll be back too, and hopefully we'll get a few more videos out, and we'll have some more fun, more things to talk about. And one thing is, have fun. If you have opinions and disagree with somebody, so what? They can think anything they want. You can take anything you want. That's how science advances. If you have two people and they agree right down the line, what are you going to gain in science? Nothing, because you both agree. And what one person says, the other one's going to agree with it. If you have two people and they come at it from different ideas and different points of view, that's when advances in science are made, because the study will start and eventually the truth will come out. But what kicks that study off is the fact that you have a couple people that disagree. So just kind of keep that in mind. I know there's some people out there with some kind of what we would consider maybe strange ideas, but to them they're not. They're very serious about their work. So just, that's the way I try to approach it. There's things I know I don't agree with, but hey, if they do, well, then that's fine. That's they're perfectly right to do that. So just remember that. Go out and have fun with the hobby. I have getting up now close almost to 60 years in the field of astronomy, and it's been a blast. So just remember that. Keep that in mind. The whole idea is to have a real good time. So again, best of health to you guys, clear nights, have a great 2015, and we'll be talking to you at some point down the line. Take care, guys.